Before my Google Pixel, I would go and rock around with some form of a flip phone. No, not this kind of flip phone. I would love to rock one of those. But right here is the phone that I used to rock, and yes, it does fold. So let's talk about it. I know what a lot of you are gonna be thinking. This is not the phone that I was rocking before. In fact, it's a completely different phone. And yes, it does fold. Yes, this is not the phone I was rocking. I was rocking a Z Flip 6 for 3 weeks. I'll explain why that happened. This, in fact, is a Z Flip 4 from 2023. Actually, 2022. Yeah, that's right, it's 2022. I bought this from eBay for the price of what would be $65. Yes, look at that glamorous screen and it just went away. But the reason why it was so cheap is because, as much as that, yes, it is a folding phone, it doesn't fully work. Or actually, yes, it does work. You see that line on the screen? A few of those like dead pixels. Yes, this phone does not work perfectly. In fact, I bought this broken or in need of repair. So it's not like I didn't plan on using this phone as some form of a prop, but not the main point. I wanted to go over the things which I did and did not like about using a foldable phone like this. And obviously, as you can see, it folds in half, which is like one of the big things of what I liked about it so much. And it's just a normal size phone screen, so you can actually just do normal phone things. If you really wanted to, can't even get the camera to work. You could use it as an old style camcorder, like this, and then have the other screen like this, and then you could just have it so it's like, oh, you could see yourself on the screen. Now, the other screen on this was much bigger. In fact, there was multiple moments where I had the outside screen on while taking mirror selfies, which was so cool, instead of using just the camera on it, and then it was cool. This did all the normal things that my normal phone could do. Wireless charging sharing, all this normal stuff. It's got the same amount of storage. At this point, like, there's a couple of things which I did not like about this phone. And unfortunately, one of the big things is the idea that it folds. Yes, I do love the fact that it does fold in half. I could just open it and just enjoy my phone, but well, as I've come to learn, that isn't exactly the most reliable thing, especially with my first student. Twice around. The first time I had this phone, the digitizer broke, which meant that the screen was perfectly fine, but you couldn't touch the screen, which happily this one I can actually demonstrate with because, I mean, at least I could demonstrate it. The other one that I had actually had a fully broken inner screen, which meant that you couldn't even use the phone, and the outside screen was perfectly working. Now, I loved this phone. I really did love this phone when I had it. Not this particular one, it was the 6, but you get my point. I loved the Z Flip, and I thought that if anything, this would have still been my phone 6 months or even a year or 2 years into my run. And it only lasted 3 weeks, and I had to go back to my iPhone 12 temporarily until I got my second Z Flip, which ended up breaking, and then I switched over to the Google Pixel 8 Pro. I will admit I find folding phones cool. I think the idea of folding your phone in half or opening it up to where it has a bigger screen but then you have the smaller screen in the outside, I think that's cool. These are just not as reliable as I hoped they would be. Now this one happily still works, as you can see, in some way or another, even though it's got dead pixels, it's got this green line in the middle of the screen where the crease is at. Even if I wanted to get this repaired, it would be hundreds of dollars just to get it repaired. And I wouldn't be able to use this phone anyway because of the carrier it's locked to, which is T-Mobile. I think the phones are so cool. They're still so cool. Folding phones, they're awesome. I think if anything, the idea of folding your phone in half and just stuffing them into your shirt pocket, as I'll demonstrate, it's cool. But the problem is they're not as reliable as I hoped they would be. It also doesn't help that I'm also subscribed to the r/ZFlip subreddit, and half of the posts are just, oh shit, my Z Flip broke. The durability as well is also another thing which also I had to worry about as well. The casing would have to be like to where it covers the hinge and all that, and it would be just too complicated instead of just getting yourself a normal phone case or something, which I did with the Google Pixel. But like, better yet, this phone It was great, but then it died on me. I love the Z Flip. I think it's a cool toy. I think if anything, it's so cool to open and close it and just be like, hey, I got a foldable smartphone, look at me. But in reality, I don't want to be that person. I would rather just have a smartphone that works instead of having a phone that could basically crash on you like this guy nearly could. Or better yet, the phone that basically didn't even turn on for me or couldn't even respond to touch. Shit, the brightness just went up. That's one of the biggest reasons why I switched over to the Google Pixel 8 Pro after my Z Flip. Now, this phone was cheaper for one, and it wasn't that much older than the iPhone 15 I was originally gonna get. The big thing about this phone is the fact that it's just a regular smartphone. It's just a regular smartphone that could just do everything normally without folding itself in half, and it's much more durable. I love it for that reason. Like, I love the phone much more than I love the Z Flip, which sucks because I hope that the Z Flip would have just been better for me. But again, the Z Flip dying, the dream also died for me that day. A lot of you are gonna ask me at this point, would I buy or use a foldable phone again? Well, I technically did with this one. If I had to buy a brand new one or even use it as my regular phone, no. Most likely not, because I would still have to keep my old phone around to at least keep some form of a backup. So if for some reason my old phone goes or my new phone goes, then I could at least have the secondary phone to use as a backup. That was another thing too, is that when I went to my Z Flip, I switched to it entirely. When that broke, I had to go and just use my iPhone 12. At least for me, I don't have to worry about the same thing with my Pixel. Yeah, the Z Flip. Gotta love it. Opens and is just the coolest thing on earth. But it's also the fact that it doesn't help that it has a lot of dead pixels on it. And the one that I had broke in 2 different ways. But hey, ask me down below if you would use a foldable smartphone like this, because, you know, it'd be cool to hear your thoughts about owning a Z Flip or Z Fold, better yet, or a Motorola Razr or anything. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm trying to think of a new outro, so I'm trying to think it. Hasta la pasta. Pause out.